Hi, welcome back. It's Laura over here at Hyperstamper. So before I get into this exquisite journal, just gonna get all of the housekeeping out of the way. There's no tariffs on this journal if you live in the States and everywhere else, including the States and Canada. I don't use Canada Post, I use a courier service, so there's no delays. And you can find this and other journals of mine at hyperstamper.etsy.com. Now, this is an exquisite Victorian era journal from 1899. The book, I'm sorry, and I received it. The spine was quite damaged, so I have put in a new spine and covered it with this vintage doily. But look at this cover. It's called Chimney Corner Stories, and it's got these three adorable children here. One has a little note to Santa Claus, and they're looking up the chimney for him. She's also got a little note. She's holding this beautiful doll. It's still got its gold in it and the gold decor along the sides. It's absolutely charming, exquisite, every beautiful adjective I can think of for a Christmas journal. When I found it in a shop, I almost started to shake. I was so excited. I had to have it. So I spent more than I would normally would on an old book that's damaged, but I had to have it for a Christmas journal. So the back also has this. I've seen this pattern many, many times, especially from this publisher, Lachlan, and it's just tiny little flowers and it's exquisite, so I left it alone. So I just pulled some ribbons that matched the colors in this beautiful cover, and let's have a look inside. And just remember, everything in here, every page is authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. I haven't used a single commercial product or digital. All the inserts, the pages, everything. So, and lots of fun stuff in here. Okay, you ready? This is the original first page. It is so brittle. This book it's so old and brittle. So I had to double reinforce this. So if you're wondering what that hinge is there, that's what that is. And look at here. I was able to save part of the spine because it is 126 years old. So I kind of like that. I left it with its book forever. And that's the inside of that first original page. Now this is from the 50s here. This originally had a little light bulb that came up through the hole to light up the lantern. And so I just love that, early 50s. Here is a 1930s Christmas card, and the colors in it are just wonderful. Look at that beautiful deep eggplant and all of the gold. It has been punched some holes in here because somebody glued it into a scrapbook. But look at even that inside image. It's exquisite. I love it. You can see where it was glued into the scrapbook there. There's that other wonderful image on the other side of that. And this is a vintage recipe for rich fruitcake. And this pocket down here is from an antique book with a chapter called Home for Christmas. I stamped that. And then this is from a vintage botanical book. This is the poinsettia page. Isn't that great? And I left this alone. You could certainly cover that up if you don't want that there, but I couldn't do anything about it being on the flip side. And it is very pretty. Green and red sewing pattern paper, vintage. And this is a great old vintage book about the snowman and Jack Frost. There's the kids throwing snowballs at the snowman there. And then this beautiful little vintage song sheet here, A Christmas Prayer, and it's absolutely adorable. Now here is one of my favorites, actually. I tried very hard to make this into a cover. I just couldn't make it work. It's a quintessential Art Deco 1930s Christmas card. And I mean, the font, the stylings, it's just amazing. Look at that. I love it so much, and you can even open it up and journal inside. It's just one of my favorites, and sad to see it go, but so happy that somebody else gets to enjoy it. This is another one of those pages from that same light up book, the flip side of it. You can see where the little light bulb would have been there. And then this here is from one of Pages, and this is from the Highlands book for wee folks. And these are all kinds of different Christmas things on that page as well. And then I made this journaling tag here out of a vintage filing folder, And this is from a 1927 Eaton's catalog page for winter coats and a fur scarf. And look at that hat. Just, again, so typically 1920s. And this is a little 100 or so year old banknote. And I chose it because it's green for Christmas. And this here is early 1900s. Actually, this might even be 1800s. Oh, it is. That's wonderful. So yeah, this is from the We Speakers book that I made a journal out of not too long ago. But look at that great picture. You could actually cut that out and frame it. It's just beautiful. And then on the flip side, this was the chapter 4 Christmas section of the book. This is a 1940s children's book page here. This is a coloring book page from a Christmas themed coloring book from the 50s. And this is another great vintage children's book page. The Traveling Christmas Tree. This piece here looks like it's a commercially printed piece, but it's actually, it was on the inside of the book on either side. And I just love how it aged there with that natural aging toning. And this is from the Paris, France Almanac from 1932. And we've got a winter scene here and a Christmas parade float. And it's down here, illumination of the Grand Store, Parisian Store, December 1930. And yeah, December 20 and 21st. Love it. I stamped that. This is from a 1959 Christmas Ideals book. Look at that cheesy picture. It's awesome with the, I don't even, fake snow glued onto these bells. It's just awesome. I love it. There's a little Christmas poem here. And then I've got some fringe here. And I just love it. And down here is a 1956 image. We've got the sleigh here in the winter. Oh, and then in here, my friend Stacy sent me these. This is, can you see through it that it's Peace and Noel? And that's peace backwards because you would have ironed that on. There's a little test piece onto, you know, a tea towel or an apron. And then you would have cross-stitched on it. I love that. This is very, very special. This is a 1902 original Currier and Ives plate. This is a winter scene from Montmorency Falls in Montreal. And another coloring book page. And I put this in here from the 1950s because this would have been a place where you went to get some notions and toys. Maybe you would have bought them at Pearl Shop for Christmas presents. And this here is from 1955. We've got the grouse here in this Christmas scene, winter scene. And then this is another wonderful 1930s Christmas card. Look at the gold foil in there. That would have been a big deal. You would have paid extra for that. And just the great illustration inside and that look at this font. Look at that W. I love it. Am I the only one? I just love old font. I really do. Okay, now this is damaged, but I thought it was worthy of putting in here just because it is really fun Christmas stuff from 1959, different crafts, advertisements, and recipes. Now this here is from a 1974 book with the Currier and Ives plate replicas, but because it is 51 years old, it is still a vintage page. And this here, another coloring book page. You can give that away maybe to some children who would like to color it, or maybe you would. Coloring is a big deal now. And that's just a 85-year-old postcard down there I turned into a pocket. And this is the piping on Christmas Eve story. And there's another wonderful page from that book. There's Rudolph. Isn't that great? Actually, this is from a different book. Yeah, this is from the book Rudolph. Yeah, that's not the light up book. Some vintage wrapping paper. That is from an old puzzle. It's got Santa's hand in his sack there. And this is from the 1800s as well. I believe the 1890s, and not this book, but a different book. And look at how they put all the toys on the tree. And you've got all the children looking at the tree and pulling the toys and gifts off. I think that's just wonderful. And then this, how awesome is this from the 1950s? A little kitten in its Christmas basket here with the ornaments and the pine cones. I just think it's hysterical. And then this here is from a 1940s recipe book. And I put antique scrapbook paper on the back. Delicious fruitcake. That's the flip side of that Rudolph page. Look at that wonderful toys. And then this here is also from that same recipe book. And this is Christmas cake ideas. That looks like ladyfingers there. Oh, that looks really cool. And then this is from a box, an old children's game with all, you know, those sometimes I use those little words. That was the box, and because it was green and worn and beautiful, I put it there. And then you can journal on the back of this vintage tracing paper, which, as you can see, the little perforation marks there for sewing. And then over here, look at that 1920s advertisement for winter gloves. And then this is from the 1950s, for a Drano ad, a little Christmas scene there. I just think it's funny. Another children's book page here about Christmas. I stamped that up there. And this is on a book, antique book cover, and I found this fell out of a book. Somebody had cut this out and put it in a book, so I turned it into just a little journaling tag here. Isn't that beautiful? And that is likely from the early 1900s. This is from a vintage bird book, and that is little chickadee in a winter scene there as well. And then speaking of winter scenes, look at this one. Isn't that stunning? And that is from 1924. 1924. Isn't that beautiful? That is crazy beautiful. And then this here is a nature piece, and I chose it because it's got the little links there, and it's also in a winter scene. One of the visitors you don't want at Christmas is the links, but they're quite beautiful. This here doesn't look like a Christmas card, but it is. It is from the Five Horseshoes Hotel, Henley on the Thames. Sorry, that is in England. Of course, the infamous Thames River. And then this is absolutely gorgeous postcard, and that is from pre-1910. And then I made this little frame out of antique paper, and that is a little Holly Hobby sticker from the 70s. This is the first snowflake vintage song sheet, and then this is another Santa Claus vintage book page. And then I've left this open here because I'm hoping whoever purchases gives me an idea of something they'd like me to include in the book that would make it a little more personal for them. And that's on an antique book page called The Christmas Card. Now this here was completely torn up, but I was able to save the inscription, and it's from this book. It was published in 1899, but gifted in 1904, from Percy to Myrtle. And this is from an Ice Capades book down here. We've got The Skater, another children's book from the 40s page. Hi. And then this is another vintage book page down here, a little boy walking in the snow. And then this, I put this beautiful 1950s Raggedy Ann page because, there she is upside down. It was some doll that I got for Christmas, my Raggedy Ann doll. And so I've got the feeling lots of little girls in the past, in the 60s and 70s, got Raggedy Ann dolls for Christmas. So that's why she's in there. And you'll notice that page there is called The Snowman's Secret. Now back here is a record. It was like this when I got it. It is very crumbly. I could break a piece off if I did that hard enough. But look at how great it is. Isn't that great? Little Tots nursery tune. Santa Claus will soon be here. And then this is the last little insert. It's a page called The Snowdrop. So I hope you love this as much as I love making it. It's very special. It's going to be hard to let go, but I hope you'll come back soon. I'll be doing another Christmas journal within the week. Bye for now.